What up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we're going to be doing Saturn in the sign of Gemini, and what happens when Saturn comes into the Gemini into your horoscope. What is the sign of Gemini? Well, sign of Gemini represents intellect. It represents it's a very intellectual sign. It's about ideas. It's about intellectual ideas. It's about conversations. It's about, written communication. It's all sorts of communication. It's not a very analytical communication like Virgo, even though it's ruled by Mercury. It's more of like ideas like, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. Hey, why don't we do this and sell this? Hey, what if we did this and then this can improve that? It's about entrepreneurial ideas. And it also represents, your skills of writing. It's your skills of any kind of communication, like journalism is represented by Gemini. Art of mimicking is represented by Gemini, like mimicking, like acting, like mimicking some other actor. That's what Gemini is. And Gemini is also a very sexual sign. It's not just Scorpio that is sexual. It's Gemini. It's actually more sexual. They're more flirtatious. They're more about just, hey, they've got their eye on this, eye on that person, eye on that person. They just love flirting with people. Why? Because sign of Gemini represents union of man and woman. If you see the symbol of Gemini and you pay close attention to it, especially in the Vedic one, it's not two male holding. It's not two twins holding each other. It's a man and a woman. It represents union. So they have this attraction towards people because they want to unionize themselves with other people. Okay, sign of Gemini represents your lungs and your shoulders and your hands, and it's a sign of just pure intelligence. So you put Saturn here. Saturn is what? Saturn is boundaries and restriction. Saturn is your limits. Saturn shows where your limits are. Saturn helps you organize your ideas, helps you organize things in life. It's your discipline. Saturn represents discipline. Like in order to achieve something, including ideas, implement those ideas in practical world, you need discipline to work. It represents workaholicism in a person. And Saturn represents, it's a tamasic planet, so it represents fear and anxiety. So what happens when these two energy meets together? Well, first of all, it represents a person who is very disciplined and organized about their ideas. They're able to take the idea that they have, their communication is very organized and disciplined. Like when they speak with thoroughness. When they speak, they organize everything that they're going to say, whether it's in a written form or verbal. They're able to organize all those things and they compile them together, and then they give those ideas. So what happens is this. Saturn is initially will always make you struggle for things. It's always about starting from the bottom and going to the top. So in initial ages, when they're young, they have trouble communicating with people. They have trouble expressing their ideas with people. They're criticized a lot and they become very self-critical of themselves. They're like, oh my God, I should have done this way, or I should have said it this, and I should not have said that. And so they become very critical of themselves, and what can happen is that they may not speak too much. It's not like they have trouble speaking. They may not speak too much themselves, and they may become part of social scrutiny, social criticism. Like you go somewhere as a person and you might be scrutinized for your race, for your age, for your skin color. And because of that, you don't communicate a lot with people. So that's one of the, downside of this. But the thing is, as they grow older and as Saturn becomes mature, from his negative side to the positive side, they become very technical with their skills of communication. They're very articulate with their skills of communication. And Saturn represents mechanical jobs. It's a very mechanical planet that loves repetitive things and loves to work in a repetitive motion. So the best position this can show is somebody who's in a technical communication skills, technical written skills. Like somebody who, and Saturn and Gemini is a silent signs of salesmanship. Like they want to come up with an idea and try to sell something. And Saturn puts that organization and discipline in there with its technicalities. So it can represent somebody who goes out and tries to sell something technical, tries to speak about something technical. And it can also represent somebody who is a technical copywriter. Like, let's say J.R. Rowling writes a novel, but then the person who edits it, that requires a Saturn Gemini mind. Why? Because they have the ability to write something because of Gemini, but Saturn puts that organization skills in it. He puts that discipline in it to make sure that every word is spelled correctly, every sentence and syntax is properly written on it. But what happens with Saturn and Gemini, the reason why they make great editors more than even great writers, is because Gemini is filled with ideas. Ideas are coming by and going, coming by and going. But Saturn is a slow-moving planet. It does things with patience. It does things, with a slow pace. So what happens with this thing is that their ideas, they're not able to fully capture the idea. They get the ideas in their mind. But then because of Saturn energy being there, they just don't know how to implement those ideas. So what happens is they make the best technical writers, best mechanical or manual writers. Because if J.K. Rowling has already written Harry Potter, they don't need to come up with something new idea. What they have to do is use their Saturnian energy to implement that idea into writing. So they're able to now see, they're organizing that entire idea of J.K. Rowling. They're saying, okay, I can organize this. I can see the mistake here, mistake here, mistake here, mistake here, and I can do that. That's where they really shine. They can really shine in medical field, writing anything about the medical or scientific field. They can become salesmen of scientific or medical profession, like pharmaceutical sales, because those things require technicalities. It requires a lot of details. It requires a lot of discipline to do something. So if they study with Saturn and Gemini, they will most likely go into studying anything technical, anything related to biotechnical or medical field. And what happens with this position is that Saturn helps them organize everything. They're able to organize all their ideas into, one single syntax. And since Saturn is a slow-moving planet, it also shows a communication of long things, communication of long written words, long speeches, which signifies what? A novelist. So if a novelist requires 600 pages of work, 400 pages of work, requires a year or two of writing, just the first draft. So Saturn helps them do that. Saturn gives them the patience, it gives them the discipline and the organization skills to do that. Now, if Mercury is debilitated, or if Mercury is combust with the sun, they will have problem with their speech. They will have problem with their ideas and their written skills. And not only that, they will have problem with speech impediment disorder. Like if, people who are able, I don't know the exact term right now in my mind, but, people who kind of hiccup when they talk, you can go there. Or when they have these things like, I can do that. You see, that kind of a speech comes with when Mercury is in a very bad position and Saturn is controlling one of the aspects of Mercury, either in Virgo or Gemini, or an aspect to Mercury or in conjunction with Mercury while Mercury is badly placed or debilitated. And that's where it'll show that speech problems. People might start speaking later on in life because of this problem. So that's what pretty much is. But mainly, it organizes and puts a discipline on their communication. Now, another thing, like I said, Gemini is a very sexual sign. But Saturn is that tamasic planet. It puts delay and frustration into things. So what happens is these people run into people who may have problems sexually, and they're not able to express to them their complete passion. They may be passionate. Person with Saturn and Gemini may be passionate. But what Saturn does, it introduces them to people who may be sexually malfunctioning, who maybe not as passionate as they thought they would be. And then they can have if Saturn Mahadasha comes, they can have problems with their shoulder and their hands, pain in shoulders or arthritis in their hands, or something with this region of area. I forgot the name. See, the name of this region area, I specifically found out before I made the video, but now I just forgot that again. It's this area that can put them into pain as well. Okay, and then, things with their communication in Saturn Mahadasha, if Mercury is not well placed, they may have some problem with speech or with comprehension of speech, and they'll be like, what the hell's going on? Why is my speech suddenly, going haywire? That's probably because you're going through Saturn Dasha in these situations. All right. So guys, this is my analysis of Gemini Saturn. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know what sign your Saturn displays in the true Vedic degrees and what conjunction it's having, check out the link below. Check out my books there, Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get the book, I will send you a link to look at your own chart. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.